Welcome to Mysterious Japan, created by Heath Havey and dedicated to Japan's dark histories, ghost stories, and frightful folklore. This is the dark side of Japan. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to episode 32 of Mysterious Japan. Since ancient times, the Japanese have spoken of monsters that are not people. Neither are they yokai or ghosts, but real physical creatures, as yet undiscovered or hidden from man. They term these creatures UMA, which stands for Unidentified Mysterious Animal, but they pronounce this Yuma. In the West, we label them cryptids. Other countries have cryptids like the Sasquatch, Lock Ness Monster, Ogopogo, Chupacabra, or the Mongolian death worm, to name just a few. But Japan has its own cryptids. We previously explored the legends of the Hibagon, which is Japan's cryptid most analogous to Bigfoot. But there are many other mysterious creatures in Japan believed to be real and living out there in nature, but are not supernatural or of otherworldly origin. Today we take a look at the Japanese lake monsters. Japan has multiple lake cryptids that, like the Loch Ness Monster, appear like the extinct plesiosaur in descriptions. Many Japanese believe these lake monsters were the origin of ancient beliefs of dragons. Others believe these are misidentified giant eels or other creatures. Whether real or misidentifications, their stories will keep you wondering about the mysterious life that may be hiding in Japan's dark sea. But once you hear the tales, you may wonder yourself what these creatures really are, and whether they really inhabit some of Japan's over 6,000 lakes. Lake cryptid number 1, Issie, the Japanese Loch Ness Monster. Two divers seek to explore the bottom of Lake Ikeda, located on Kyushu in the far southwest of Japan. At the bottom of the lake, a creature slithers out of nowhere, headed straight at them. Its giant mouth hinges open and it bears sharp fangs. Deep underwater, the two divers cannot scream. The creature is 20 meters long, over 60 feet. They know immediately that this is not an eel. It is not even a giant eel. Later, when defending against claims that it was just an eel, the divers claim it had teeth as large as tusks, and eels do not have teeth. Also, eels and fish meander horizontally in the water to propel themselves. By contrast, this creature went straight at them like a torpedo. It was no fish, and it was no eel. These two experienced divers claim this is something else, some species they cannot identify, and its size is so incredibly huge that they have nothing to measure it by. At the time it lunges at them, they quickly head for the surface, glad to have survived the sudden attack. They cannot get out of the water fast enough. Some kind of creature lurks in Lake Ikeda. Much like Nessie from Loch Ness, Champ of Lake Champlain, or the Mokele-mbembe in the Congo, it appears like the long-extinct plesiosaur. But whereas the Loch Ness Monster legend started in 1933, the monster of Ikeda Lake has existed for centuries. Similar to Loch Ness in Scotland, Lake Ikeda is a large lake known more for its depth than its circumference. It is the largest lake in Kyushu, with a circumference of 15 kilometers, which is over 9 miles. But its depth is over 233 meters, which is about 765 feet deep. By comparison, this is about 6 times deeper than the average lake. Lake Ikeda is a caldera lake. About 6,400 years ago, this spot collapsed due to a series of volcanic eruptions. Over time, rainfall accumulation filled in this giant collapsed caldera, making it into a giant crater lake. No rivers drain into the lake. No salt water makes its way into the lake. Instead, it sits completely isolated as a volcanic crater plunging 1/7 of a mile down into the ground. This makes it unique among lakes, but also raises the question how anything so large could have made its way into the lake and survived. Despite this, the lake is near the tip of a peninsula surrounded by the sea, and it is filled with many eels and species of fish. But the eels, smelt, sea turtles, catfish, and carp have all been artificially released into the lake, making it nearly inconceivable that a 60-foot-long monster could have grown in the lake. Yet the testimonies of witnesses and the legend going back centuries raise questions and theories about this aquatic nightmare. As with many crater-formed lakes, Lake Ikeda is round in shape. But unlike most people's expectation of crater lakes, it does not sit atop a volcanic mountain, but is instead like a bowl set into the earth just a few hundred feet above sea level. Yet despite the unlikelihood that a large living creature, a cryptid no less, could live in this lake, its legend goes back to ancient times. During the 17th to 19th centuries, the story of its origin was compiled in Sankoku Scenic Picture Compilation, which is a compilation describing many geographical and topological areas of Japan, including landmarks and related legends, believed by them to be historical recountings. In this series, Lake Ikeda was shown to have been inhabited by many strange creatures since ancient times, and this creature in particular has a fascinating origin story. The legend states that a farmer, while walking along the lake, saw a human-like head attached to a dragon-like body. In fear of the creature, the farmer drew his tanto knife and slashed the creature in the neck, but the knife was too small to allow him to sever the head fast enough, and the bleeding dragon creature slithered back into the lake. The farmer was unsure if his cut was deep enough to kill the creature or not, but he would learn the awful truth that very night. Within hours, he fell ill. Surrounded by his wife and relatives, the farmer died suddenly and unexpectedly from unknown reasons. No one understood why the healthy man suddenly took ill and died. But then his wife went into a rage, and it took a few moments for his relatives to realize that she was possessed by a demon or had possibly gone quite mad. In her possessed state, she raged.
I am the spirit of the Dragon King. I rule this lake. As retribution for this man killing me, I will kill all descendants of this wretched man.
His relatives apologized profusely, promising to build a shrine to atone for the sins of the farmer. The possessed wife soon returned to normal as the spirit of the Dragon King left her. After that time, locals report seeing carp 3 feet or longer in size, and strange things appeared in the lake, including a tiny island appearing in its center just after a heavy rainfall. This island is just 150 square feet in size. And then it disappears just as suddenly. Many residents said this was not an island of land, but instead was a giant crab that lived in the lake for thousands of years and reveals itself on rainy nights. Other legends about the lake rose among the locals, including the morbid legend that corpses of humans who drown in the lake will never rise to the surface. The reason for this is that the monsters living at the bottom of the lake eat the corpses. And thus, Lake Ikeda is steeped in hundreds of years of legend and tales of strange creatures. With respect to this specific cryptid, it also has a mysterious legend behind its origin. A white mare lived with her foal on the shores of Lake Ikeda. One day, seeing the beauty of these horses, a samurai captured the foal when it was left alone by its mother. The grieving mare, unable to find her beloved foal, jumped into the lake, transforming into this saurian beast in its desperation. Its body elongated, but its head remained mostly horse-like in appearance. And thus, people see this giant creature that still has a mostly horse appearance for a head, much like the Lock Ness Monster. Recognizing the similarity of the two creatures, the Japanese decided to use the same nickname nomenclature. While the Lock Ness Monster was called Nessie, the Ikeda Monster was called Issie. In the 1970s, its popularity will rise to legendary heights throughout Japan. In 1975, Matsu Ikura rests on the lakeshore road. To his surprise, he sees a long creature floating on the surface of the lake. This is unlike any creature he has ever seen, with a horse-like head and a long humped body. He tells his grandfather, Teoshi Obama. With a smile, his grandfather nods and says he encountered this creature in 1943 while on a boat with his friend. It had a body longer than any giant eel and had the head the size of the drum. The body had a length, he told his grandson, of over 60 feet long. Regular sightings of the creature began a nationwide recognition of this creature on September 3, 1978. It was on that day that 11-year-old Hiroto Kawaji and his 17-year-old cousin were playing catch on the shore of the lake when the monster appeared. Upon seeing it, the two boys ran into the house. 20 relatives had gathered for a ceremony, and they came out to see what the boys were ranting on about. That was when they all saw it. Not far out on the lake, they saw two humps about 15 feet long rise about 20 inches from the water. The humps rose and submerged in the water, obviously belonging to something alive. On another shore nearby, 5 high school students also witnessed this sight. The incident soon spread among the locals, and they came out one after the other to tell their own stories of spotting the creature. In all, over 200 witnesses came forth, finally unafraid of being mocked by their tale of seeing this large monster. Agricultural cooperative officials and others came to investigate, and on October 4, several of them witnessed the creature firsthand. The humps rose from the surface of the lake, and investigators could not explain it. Using the Nessie nomenclature, they called it Issie, and thus began Issie fever. Investigations with witnesses confirmed that they typically would see 2 black humps or dorsal fin protrusions on the back. Some claimed to see whale-like tail fins. The head was generally of a horse-like appearance. Thus, they described it as kubinagaryu, the Japanese word for plesiosaur. In the wake of these sightings and witnesses, the local government set up a special committee on Issie measures. Through this, they installed unmanned cameras on the lakeside observatory for 24-hour-a-day monitoring. They also offered 100,000 yen to any person who takes a credible photo of Issie. By December 16, they had that photograph. Matsubara Toshiaki captured a photograph after 3 days of searching for the monster. He had long been interested in the legend and the reality of the creature, and now he saw a whirlpool form. He prepared to take a picture, but the whirlpool disappeared. But then he aimed his camera at the lakeshore rocks and saw a white object fill his viewfinder. It looked like something rising from the lake with white foam from the water rushing around it. He quickly takes a picture and captures the moment the object was about to sink back into the lake. The picture captures 3 black bands also visible near the center of the object. The committee has this photograph examined by professionals who determined that it was part of the body of the elusive Issie. The American research group GSW also analyzed the photo using available computer technology at the time. They used various techniques and determined the photo was not a fake and that it indeed showed an unidentifiable creature. Matsubara walked away with the 100,000 yen prize for taking the first confirmed photograph of Issie. For the next few years, Issie fever continued. From May 9 to 15, 1979, TV Tokyo conducted a so-called Issie exploration for its special program production. Using what they called a fish finder, they caught 2 large and unidentifiable objects 30 feet down. Each was over 10 feet long, far too long to be from normal fish or eels in the lake. They conclude that it might be Issie. On May 14, about 1,200 feet offshore, about 400 meters from the shore rocks, the boat lowered an underwater microphone to catch sounds. A violent vibration of unknown origin came from the bottom of the lake, something that could not be created by local wildlife in the lake and was not part of an earthquake or volcanic release. This added to the mystery of Issie. On September 3, 1988, numerous witnesses reported seeing 2 black humps swimming quickly across the Lake Ikeda's surface. Each hump was about 15 feet in length, creating wakes and frothy white water in their path. Media covered this sighting as well, and the resurgence of the Issie fever began anew as major sightings began to occur again. 2 years later, on October 21, 1990, the first video footage of Issie was captured by a local resident. Kazuo Kono was looking down at the surface of the lake from the observatory with his mother. He spotted black humps moving around the lake and caught short video footage of Issie. On January 4, 1991, Takashi Tomiyasu captured a second video footage of Issie moving from left to right and creating wakes in its path. His footage is remarkable in that it then showed a second humped object moving from right to left. This indicated the existence of 2 of the creatures, perhaps a mating pair. The two creatures came together in his viewfinder and then disappeared into the lake after a few seconds. His video aired on the news a few weeks later, on February 2nd. Crowds of people swarmed the lake the next day. Eyewitness accounts started coming in at 10 to 20 per day, many with video footage and photographs pouring in to show the existence of this cryptid, UMA. The City Hall created a special task force. Its first order of business was to award Issie the title of Special Honorary Citizen of the town. Youth groups organized special investigation teams and started their own searches. The Issie fever died down in 1994. It was captured on 8mm video on October 25, 1993, but people were not out searching for it as much. A brief resurgence occurred after a large number of witnesses captured Issie on video and photographs on May 17, 2007. These show 4 protrusions coming out of the surface of the lake. Locals believe there is something lurking in Lake Ikeda, but for now, Issie is still in the same elusive cryptid category as the Loch Ness Monster. Only time will tell if Issie is proven to exist or falls back into the category of folklore and legend. Lake Cryptid. Number 2. Kusi. Though Issie is the most famous, other lake cryptids also have their day in the sun. Japan is rife with legends about similar monsters inhabiting its many lakes. Some of them use the same nomenclature system as Nessie and Issie by adding the SSIE at the end. Lake Kusharo has Kusi, another plesiosaur monster in the northern part of Japan, in Hokkaido. Lake Kusharo is the largest caldera lake in Japan and the largest freshwater lake. Its perimeter is 57 kilometers, over 35 miles total, and it is over 30,000 years old. The lake is much larger and older than Lake Ikeda, and it has its legend. And they are incredible legends. The Japanese Ainu people live in this area. Their legends tell of a giant snake-like monster that lives in the lake and swallows deer. They consider it the lord of the lake. Visitors to the area were told that if they see the lake monster, they should not tell anyone about it, or surely disaster will occur. Even locals would turn a blind eye when the monster appeared. They would look away and pretend not to see, fearing that the lord of the lake would bring an earthquake. Due to this secrecy, for generations, this lake monster's existence did not reach the outside world. Hokkaido is very cold in the winter, and the lake will completely freeze over. When the ice cracks, the locals said it is the work of Kusi. They call this phenomenon the crossing of the gods. Back then, Kusi was believed to be a king of the dragons. In more recent years, it is thought possibly to be a surviving plesiosaurus, if it truly exists at all. Like an eye looking out from the world, a long island rests in the center of the lake. This island, called Nakajima, is 10 kilometers long. Nakajima Island is itself a lava cone sticking out almost 400 meters above the surface. In the modern age, sightings of this creature started a wave of popularity in the 1970s. In 1972, a driver witnessed what he thought was an upside-down boat moving toward shore and took a picture, believed to belong to the creature. In August 1973, 40 junior high school students saw the monster on an excursion to Mount Mokoto. After this, the existence of Kusi spread nationwide. A family in 1974 witnessed 2 large black objects that sank so fast into the water that they erupted with a tremendous sound and large wave. They compared it to throwing 10 logs into the lake. In September, 15 witnesses saw triangular humps about 10 to 15 meters long that were shiny and moved at the speed of a motorboat. Then it sank into the water. A video camera was brought by a news team which captured a round object floating on the surface of the lake. A forestry worker on July 5, 1975 was cutting trees when his horse suddenly spooked. He looked at the water and saw a dark brown face with silver eyes staring at him from just 50 meters away. The face looked much like his horse's head but was much larger. After watching the forestry worker and the horse, the creature sank back into the lake. Locals have found squid and even vegetables that they plant on the lake with bites out of them. The only thing with teeth in the lake is a small species of fish, so locals believe it was Kusi eating the squid and vegetables. In 1979, a picture surfaced of Kusi swimming with its head and neck completely out of the lake. But one man in the area who owned a restaurant wins the prize. He saw Kusi from his motorboat and pursued the creature, getting within 15 meters. He describes the monster's back as dark and resembling a giant dolphin's back and skin. A photo in 1990 revealed a long neck with a head described as resembling a slimy horse's head attached to a shiny neck. A firefighter claims to have unmistakably spotted Kusi in June 1997. He saw the sea ripple in front of him, and then a monstrous creature about 20 meters long rose from the lake and stuck a silvery, horse-like head out of the water. Sightings have dwindled in recent years, but the legend of Kusi lives on. Lake cryptid number 3, Mossie. In Season 1, we explored the forest of Jukai and the lake split by the Jogan eruption of Mount Fuji, resulting in what are known as the Fuji 5 Lakes. What really makes these lakes interesting is the interconnecting underground waterways created by the lava flows. In some lakes, hardened lava rocks visibly protrude from the water. Of these lakes, Lake Motosu is the deepest, at well over 100 meters in depth. It is known throughout Japan as the lake, shown on the backside of the 1,000 yen bill, and for being one of the clearest lakes in Japan. Despite not being the largest in circumference, the water volume of Lake Motosu is about 5 times as much as the next largest of the Fuji 5 lakes due to its depth. Rumors also spread word of the lake monster within. Called Mossie, this Yuma looks quite different from the plesiosaurus appearance of Issie and Kusi. Mossie has a long, undulating body like a 30-meter-long eel, almost 100 feet long. One aspect that differentiates Mossie is its skin. Lumps cover its body like a crocodile. Witnesses claim it also has 2 or 3 humps on its back as well. This slender creature first came to the public's attention in the 1970s. The most famous encounter that really triggered this Mossie phenomenon occurred in June 1972. A fisherman was walking along the lakeshore when he noticed bubbling on the surface of the lake. Out of nowhere, a huge dorsal fin appeared above the water. The creature moved toward the man and then finally sank into the water not too far from the shore. As the eyewitness accounts grew, fishermen decided to set up tuna nets to catch Mossie. They created a chain of these nets to cover a large swath of the lake. But when they went to check the nets, they found that something had violently broken through the nets, leaving them shredded. They determined that whatever did it was too large to be any of the natural creatures in the lake and attributed it to Mossie. Other researchers lowered sonar equipment into the lake. Large, unexplained images came back from this study, and some thought these could be Mossie. The images were like large shadows. During the 70s and into the 80s, people jumped into boats to scour the lake for the creature, some with so-called fish finder equipment, and some amateurs just out there for the joy of searching out something unknown. The 70s resulted in numerous sightings that continued into the 1980s. In 1987, an amateur photographer was setting up his camera to catch the iconic view of the lake with Mount Fuji in the background. Something caught his attention from the lake. Trailing a wake of water, a hump rose from the surface of the water. He turned his camera to the strange sight as the long hump seemed to swim through the water. He caught a clear picture of the hump, and fins could be seen below the surface of the water. Another photographer also captured a picture of Mossie that year. Sightings continued through the 1990s, but then seemed to fizzle out, yet a group intent on solving this mystery has been investigating the Mossie phenomenon since 2005. A number of non-cryptid theories have floated around, though none of the creatures grow to even a fifth of the size of the reported size of Mossie. The most common is that this is a misidentification of a giant sturgeon. Like Mossie, the giant sturgeon has a mottled, crocodile-like skin. These large bony plates, called scutes, take the place of scales. The theory is that someone put a giant sturgeon in the lake that grew to giant size proportions. It is well documented that sturgeon were released into the lake in past decades, so this theory has the most traction among Japanese, though sturgeon generally tend to grow to about 10 feet long. But a giant sturgeon can be one of the most massive size species of bony fish. The largest on record is only about 20 feet in length. This is still only a tiny proportion to the reported Mossie size of 5 times that size, but it ticks most of the other boxes. For example, the sturgeon tend to live in rivers, and the interconnected caves at the Fuji 5 lakes could provide such a habitat. They are also urulane, meaning they can live in waters of varying saline content. Sturgeon are also known to breach the surface of water like a whale and thus could account for sightings. As benthic feeders, sturgeon are bottom feeders that live on the bottom of a lake, meaning they would rarely be seen from the surface. The giant sturgeon can also live up to 150 years. Thus, even if there is just one solitary sturgeon in the lake put there decades ago, it could account for sightings over many decades. From the side of the legends and folklore, some believe Mossie may be the source of the legends of the dragon god that helped people escape natural disasters, including a prediction of Mount Fuji's eruption. We may never know exactly what Mossie is, and the decrease in sightings may mean that even if there had been a creature in the lake, sturgeon or otherwise, it may have died in the last few decades. Other lake cryptids of Japan. Japan has no shortage of lake cryptids. It has Taketaro that lives in Otori Pond in the Asahi mountain range. Taketaro is like a giant carp with a protruding jaw. According to legend, if you try to catch Taketaro, it will summon clouds and storms, and maybe even a great flood. Some sort of disaster will occur, they say, and thus you should never try to catch the Taketaro. Locals have seen Taketaro for centuries, but in the summer of 1982, it rose to prominence when a group of hikers discovered suspicious white waves on the lake surface. Checking with binoculars, they spotted the giant fish, about 2 meters long. As with other lake monsters, sonar was brought in and an investigation started. They captured a moving object over 2 meters in length deep in the lake. Most there believe now that it does exist, but just has not yet been caught. The Tone River, east of Tokyo, is home to freshwater fish called grass carp. Many of them grow over 1 meter in length, but it is said that there is a carp that far surpasses this size living in the river. They call this fish the grayback. In the year 2000, fishermen in a boat on the river spotted the grayback. They watched a black object the size of a rugby ball on the water that floated near his boat. Out of nowhere, a black shape rose up behind this object. Even a small portion of its back was over 1 meter in length, and as it continued to swim upstream, the fishermen clearly saw its shadow and form in the water as it went past the boat. It was over 3 meters in length. One of them could only think that it must be some sort of mutation, because he had never seen a fish that size before. And on the northwest side of Tokyo, they have the Edogawa no Eri. A local fishing club gave this moniker to the largest black carp ever seen in the Edo River. Though not native to Japan, the black carp were brought from China and released into this river for a food resource during the war, resulting in a breeding population. Others in the club thought that maybe it was bluefish, not a carp, though such fish are rare in Japan. These days, more people side on the belief that it was a bluefish and not a carp, because bluefish can grow to over 2 meters over the course of 2 or 3 decades. Original sightings of Eri began in the 1990s, but it became an official cryptid after sightings in 2000 of this 6-foot-long fish with tail fins protruding from the surface as it swam. By December of 2010, its legend had grown, as had its reported size. By then, the 2chan channel had reports of a 10-meter-long fish swimming down the Edo River. Eri, whether real or not, whether 6 feet long or 30 feet long, will live on in the imaginations of the cryptid libraries. Our final lake cryptid, Hama-chan. The lake cryptids we explored today seem to spark imagination but may not be dangerous. Our final cryptid today is not some easygoing specimen hiding from humans. It is called Hama-chan. This may be one of the strangest cryptids and believed to be as dangerous as a shark. In fact, many believe it is a misidentified shark and not a cryptid at all. It moves at breakneck speed, chasing its unwary victims in Lake Hamana. Instead of calling it Hama-chan, the Japanese abandoned that nomenclature and simply called it Hama-chan. This relatively new cryptid began to hunt in the brackish water of Lake Hamana on March 18, 2012. It was seen repeatedly from 3:30 to 5:30 and reportedly was between 4 to 5 meters in length. It was then seen again on March 20 and again by fishermen on March 29. At first, some thought it might be a seal, but it moves much faster than a seal and was much larger. Others thought it might be a bull shark based on its dorsal fin shape and due to its incredible speed, though many reported that it did not actually have a dorsal fin at all. Bull sharks are also known to go up rivers into lakes, and Lake Hamana is connected to the sea. Bull sharks also may move in a frenzied rush toward their prey, just as Hama-chan was seen to do. The fishermen who caught a close look at it stated that there was no dorsal fin. They saw it from just 5 meters away and could see a raised spine clearly visible on a blackish-brown body as well as being covered in hair. One of the fishermen claimed to have seen the creature a year earlier in 2011. In September 2022, a video captured Hama-chan after what appeared to have been a long absence. The video did not appear to be of a bull shark, but something much larger. As recently as 2024, fishermen in the area have been reporting their sightings of Hama-chan. It apparently can jump from the water, and the full body length has been reported as 4 to 5 meters long. That is almost 15 feet in length, far larger than a bull shark. In fact, bull sharks generally grow to only about half that size. Given that Lake Hamana is not landlocked, this cryptid could be moving in and out of the lake from the sea. Police have been called in due to encounters with this new cryptid. They confirmed a brown giant creature that occasionally surfaced about 300 meters from shore. This seemed to conflict with the bull shark theory, and pictures of the creature show a curved body. Sketches from witnesses appear more like elongated seals or even a giant platypus-like creature. One reporter commented that humans have evolved to be sensitive to fear. This is for our own survival, and perhaps our minds, through the process of pareidolia, are making the shape of one thing into something else. Given this cryptid's frenzied chasing and attacking of people, fear might just be the right response. In time, we may have more answers as to what Hama-chan really is. Let's just hope it is not after it attacks or injures someone. We hope you have enjoyed today's look at some of Japan's most notorious lake monsters.
This has been Mysterious Japan, created, written, and translated by Heath Havey. Thank you for listening and making this podcast possible. Please visit our website at www.themysteriousjapan.com for more information. Please join us next time as we continue to explore the dark histories and strange mysteries of Japan.